The Telegraph today runs an article about NHS managers who are destroying the careers of whistleblowers who raise concerns about patient safety. I've been looking into this for the past 18 months or so, and I've been following one particular whistleblower. And in fact, I've got involved in a court case to support him. And the Telegraph says that more than 50 doctors and nurses have said that they've been targeted after raising concerns about upwards of 170 patient deaths and nearly 700 cases of poor care. I know that that number is actually closer to 1,000 doctors. That is an astonishing number of people. And there's an organization called Doctors for Justice. And what has happened, it's not just the managers, NHS managers, these boffins without brains who run the NHS trusts, people who have no background in medicine, people who have little background in academia, who barely have any O-levels or GCSEs. These are the people who are running our NHS trusts. These are the people who are managing our NHS bureaucracy. These are the people who are being paid such a whack that they never think of going on strike. And yet, it's the junior doctors who are often paid less than the person who clears the street of rubbish, who in whose hands we place our lives when we go to the hospital. This is a madness, particularly when the bureaucrats can overrule the decisions of medics. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. And the chairman of the Council of the British Medical Representation Association, which represents doctors, said whistleblowing is not welcomed by NHS management. NHS trusts and senior managers are more concerned with protecting personal and organisational reputations than they are with protecting patients. And therefore, patient safety is put at risk. In fact, in the code of practice for the NHS, doctors and nurses are expected to call out bad practice and problems in the interests of patient safety. It's part of the code of practice and also of the support staff, the bureaucratic staff who are there to help. It is part of that code of practice. So the fact that not only are NHS managers and that sort of stream of that growth of misery on the back of the NHS, but also the governmental side, the Jeremy Hunts, spoonerism not intended, and the Matt Hancocks, and the people who profited from PPE. PPE? Is it PPE? I think it is PPE. The acronym is absurd. And Victoria Atkins, the current Health Secretary, is quite right when she says every member of staff in the NHS should feel able to speak up without fear, and it's essential that any concerns are taken very seriously to improve patient safety. But the reality is that the people who raise concerns about patient safety are then pilloried. They then find themselves surprisingly losing their jobs. They find themselves sidelined. They find themselves pushed around. They find complaints are then made about them, and their lives become unendurable. And if this were just one example, then maybe this would be the exception, but it isn't. It's the rule. And this afternoon, I'm supposed to attend a meeting of Doctors for Justice, and I expect to hear significantly more about the misery that people face in the NHS simply because they are doing the right thing.